Good morning, Bears. I think I have my. Good morning, Bears. Good thing I checked my audio. I almost was not working it again. Whenever you're recording, that's why you usually have a director, you have a sound check, you have a video check to make sure your video and audio is working. When I do that myself, I sometimes forget. All right, we are here with a great looking slideshow. Celine, nice job. Way to kick off the Monday. So, what we're doing today, if you're in Zoom, we're going to share your favorite slide in just a second with your groups. And you're going to just talk out the visual evidence and the cited research evidence. Then we'll watch a quick little video to give us some more information on geography, and maybe you'll get some evidence you can use from the video to create our CER today. And then we'll kind of wrap out of our geography portion of the week because remember, no school tomorrow, so you can get these slideshows perfect. And then Thursday and Friday, we will solve the mystery of the Sphinx. Do some evidence, do some research, and make a claim by Friday. So let's get started with a nice little overview. Celine, great job once again. Let's go into present mode for this one because that looks great. Notice she has a nice background. You can research that on your own. People are starting to learn how to make their slideshows nice and neat. Once again, notice that she has a great title, Mystery of Sphinx and Egypt Geography by Celine Montiel. Beautiful. All concepts and groups, we know about that. You can move that down, Celine, once you know what to do. So your slideshow has the directions at the bottom. Once again, this is your CER directions, so that gives you tips on how to write a CER. And remember, the FIST format works for any essay or a story or a letter or a diagnosis. The CER does as well, but the CER tends to be leaning towards a claim. So either one of those that help you write will be helpful. You always have your hand there, beginning, middle, end. Tie the beginning and the end together, and you've got yourself a story or an essay. Okay, there's our concepts for the week, and let's take a look at ancient Egypt. So you can learn a lot from cited research and visual evidence if you take the time to read it and look at the pictures. Ancient Egypt was a civilization of ancient North Africa, concentrated along the lower reaches of the Nile River, situated in the place that is now the country Egypt. The many achievements of the ancient Egyptians include the quarrying, surveying, and construction techniques that supported the building of monumental pyramids, temples, and obelisks, a system of mathematics, a practical and effective system of medicine, irrigation systems, and agricultural production techniques. The roads in ancient Egypt were little more than paths to get around on land. People walked, rode donkeys, or traveled by wagon. They carried goods on their head, but the donkeys and wagons hauled heavier loads. Economy and trade. The ancient Egyptians were wonderful traders. They traded gold, papyrus, linen, and grain for cedar, wood, ebony, copper, iron, ivory, and lapis lazuli, a lovely blue gemstone. Ships sailed up and down the Nile River, bringing goods to various ports. Some people believe those ships were able to even reach the Americas. Now, notice along there we had trade, we have agriculture. They talked about building and quarrying, that's accomplishments. I don't think it tapped into religion there. But notice we want to keep in mind our grapes, that as we're learning about things, we're focusing on the geography this week, and then we'll go into religion and social structure the next time we come back to Egypt with pharaohs and some exciting things. It talks about gold down there, that's economics. And from the picture, you can see how they dressed. You can see that they had writing. It's kind of interesting, the shapes of animals on the heads. That, is that probably a religious thing? Are they saying those are gods? Notice the statue at the top has another statue with a similar dog-like head. So that's obviously a theme there you can learn. You can see the ships. Excellent slide. So now the Nile River, we're going to focus on in our video. Great job. Nile Delta, Mediterranean Sea, Red Sea, Upper Egypt, Lower Egypt, aqueducts, part of irrigation, papyrus, how they wrote things down, one of the first writing. That's a very interesting concept to focus on. And then the mystery of the Sphinx, that we'll focus on Thursday and Friday. Okay, so right now what I want you guys to do, you cannot use the Sphinx because we're going to focus on that Thursday and Friday. Of any of the other slides, papyrus, aqueducts, Lower Egypt, Upper Egypt, Red Sea, Mediterranean Sea, Nile Delta, Nile River, Ancient Egypt, Pick one of those slides to be an expert. Let's say don't use ancient Egypt either. Let's use one of these, one of the more specific slides. I want you to pick one right now. Browse through your slideshow. If you're not quite finished, you can see the concepts. Make this your top slide, whichever one of these you want. Think about it for a second. Now, this is also the slide you're going to talk about in our breakout rooms. So pick your slide and move it to the top. Do that right now. So everybody should have a top slide. That's the slide that you want to talk about in your groups. Now, before we share in our groups, let's watch this little introductory video and be paying attention to see if they mention anything. Obviously, it's on the Nile. So if you pick the Nile, you're going to get some information, but there's probably some of the other areas in this video as well. So we're looking for some more. This is cited evidence, just like you get it from the internet, but now you're just getting it from a video, because I want you to have one note from this video in your top slide. All right, let's watch it.
Egypt is the gift of the Nile. This is a famous quote attributed to the Greek historian Herodotus. After all, without the Nile, the ancient Egyptian civilization would never have reached its apex. The Egyptian civilization established itself and flourished on the Nile banks. The Egyptians were absolutely aware of the river's decisive role for their own livelihood, and due to such paramount importance, the river was deemed sacred by the villages that lived off of it. The Nile is regarded as one of the world's largest rivers, competing for the first spot with the Amazon. Starting in Ethiopia and Kenya, the river bathes 11 different countries. When it reaches the Mediterranean Sea, the river splits itself into different branches, thus forming the Nile Delta. According to Egyptian mythology, the river Nile is associated with the god Hapi, the deity that personifies the great river. This is often depicted as an overweight figure, which, in antiquity, was a sign of a deity who had experienced a nourished and fertile existence. The river Nile was known for its floods, which engulfed massive areas along the banks. When the river returned to its normal course, the flooded lands became tremendously fertile, much due to the nutrient-filled sediments left by the river. To celebrate that fertility, the ancient Egyptians made offerings and sacrifices to Hapi for his generosity. These lands were extremely fertile, to the point of producing large amounts of agricultural surpluses. These were exported, which attracted a considerable flow of wealth into Egypt. Most civilizations that lived along the Mediterranean shores, such as the Greeks, the Romans, and the Phoenicians, imported cereals from Egypt to feed their people. There was a Nilometer in the city of Kom-Ombo, which was a type of well used to measure the Nile's flood levels. These measurements allowed to know approximately which lands were fertilized by the Nile. These would then pay more taxes to the state. In turn, those that had not been hit by the floods would see their taxes cut or even receive tax exemptions. The river was also quite important for the movement of people and goods throughout Egypt. Without the river, a large share of the pharaonic works built all over Egypt would be nothing short of impossible. After all, the transport of massive and heavy stones and obelisks from distant lands was only possible using the Nile sailing vessels. Although a gift, the river Nile also posed considerable dangers. Its waters were the shelter of dangerous creatures such as the gargantuan Nile crocodiles and dodgy hippos, which attacked vessels and destroyed agricultural areas. In addition to the dangers brought by the animals, the Nile floods were also a great hazard. Periodically, great floods hit the communities that lived on the river banks. However, if the Nile floods were insufficient, famine could devastate the whole of Egypt. Today, the Nile floods are now controlled by man due to the construction of dams like the one in Aswan. This dam was built to ensure the region's hydric safety while preventing catastrophic floods and generating electricity. Nevertheless, this same dam has also been a source of major environmental and archaeological impacts. The dam created lake-flooded large-sized areas filled with archaeological vestige. The renowned tomb of Abu Simbel was dismantled and later reassembled elsewhere. The construction of the dam had an impact on the river fauna as well. The populations of migratory fish suffered a massive drop, and so did the fertility of the land on the river banks. Currently, the River Nile is managed by man-made efforts, but this powerful force of nature continues to support the millions who live on its banks. Therefore, the famous quote of Herodotus remains true to this day, as Egypt is still a gift of the Nile.
All right, that was a pretty good video. It definitely ties into one of our themes of the year. If you remember, systems. When you do something to one thing, it impacts something else. Dams are a very interesting thing because they're very positive. They create lakes. People recreate there. You can fish there. It stores water for us so we can drink water. But when you create a dam, you create a massive lake that covers up what used to be land. So, for example, in Lake Mead, when I did that adventure that some of you guys watched along with that hike I did on our YouTube channel, that lake, that dam ended up covering up cities. So there's, not cities, but towns that you can actually go and scuba dive and see the old town. Well, we saw this in Egypt, that it would have covered up that ancient structure, so they actually had to move that structure, those statues, so they're in a different place than they were originally. So everything has pros and cons. When humans impact the environment, it impacts other things. All right, so right now, move your favorite slide to top slide. If we're in Zoom, I would ask Celine which one, but say she wants to do Red Sea. She takes her Red Sea. She should have already moved that to the top. We did that before we watched the video. Now remember, these directions now, you can highlight all three by holding the Shift button. Let's get them down to the bottom of your slideshows, because you can come refer to those, but now this looks like a nice slideshow. So I helped you out there, Celine. Oh, there's one more. Oh no, there's no one more. Perfect. So now, Celine, you can change this if you want, but assuming you did Celine was going to keep Red Sea, you need to either make room for a CER or some notes, or you can add a second slide on the Red Sea. And everybody should know how to do that. Let's say Celine's going to add a second slide just for fun. Title and body's a good one. And now she could do Red Sea CER. But before she does that, I want you to write one note. Now, the Red Sea was not mentioned in that video that I remember, so she might not have a video note. But if you do have a video note, go ahead and write that down. And if you don't have a video note, what I want you to do is read your cited research, look at your pictures, and think of 2 things you can share about this concept when we go to breakout groups. So I'm going to just give you like 3 minutes right now. You write a note from the video, study your slide, and make sure you're ready to share about this top slide in your breakout groups. All right, you have 3 minutes. Go now. Okay, we're back. I've checked my sound. So let's go into our breakout rooms. And I'm just going to give you 5 minutes, 3 to 4 people per group. Gives you time to say hello. Why don't you start off by saying what you're going to do tomorrow on our day off. What's one thing you'd like to do tomorrow on our day off? So go around the room real quick, share that part quick, just 1 or 2 sentences. And then when you get back to the person that starts, go ahead and share this slide. Just share 2 to 3 things you know about, if you're doing the Red Sea, about the Red Sea. You might read you can just read 3 sentences if you'd like, or you can share about why you picked one of your pictures. But share about your topic. Say what the concept is, read a few sentences, or talk about your visuals, and then let the next person go. I'm not sure how to pick who goes first. That's always tricky. Why don't we say whoever has the first name with that starts the first letter of the first name that comes first in the alphabet. So if your name starts with an A, you go first, and then you pick who goes next. And whoever's sharing picks the next person to go next until you get to the last person in the room. All right, breakout rooms, here we go. Good job. Anybody like to share? If we're in Zoom, we'll have some people share out. But otherwise, if you're just watching this video, you didn't get to do the breakout room, so you're just studying. Maybe share with your parents, your brother, your sister, somebody on the phone, on a chat. Just tell somebody about what you learned about your favorite slide. And then now we're going to write a CER. So what do? We all know what to do. We've written these before. What is a CER? Some people might still wonder. You come down here. This is a CER. Claim, evidence, reasoning, restate the claim. Now, you can sometimes have one piece of evidence with more reasoning, or you can have 3 pieces of evidence with just a little bit of reasoning, or your own life examples or something you can know, or opinions. But bottom line, it's 5 sentences. The FIST format helps you because you grab your readers with a strong introduction. Then you come in there with your evidence or a story or a citation. Then you give some more evidence, another citation, some reasoning, an anecdote, what is just like a story. Then you give some supportive reasoning or opinion on why you used that evidence. And then you wrap it up with a conclusion. And the conclusion ties into your introduction. All right, let's get started. Try to get this done right now by the end of class, so you don't have to do anything tomorrow. And then when we come back Thursday, we're kicking into the Sphinx. Oh, by the way, should have said this at the beginning. Go turn in last week's science assignment, because I'm getting ready to go work on your report cards right now. So turn in last week's metabolism science assignment. Click submit. Let's get going.